Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to AmpWV. Just want to make a quick video about the Supercruise system. I'm in the Hummer EV still, so first time I've had a chance to try out the Supercruise, and also just compare it a little bit to the Rivian and to the Tesla. I had a hardware 3 and now a hardware 4 Model S, so I have quite a bit of experience with those as well. So far it's working really well. It has a lot of the same features that the Rivian does. It's very similar. Pre-mapped roads only, although the roads, it does include not only highways, major highways like I-10 that we're on now, but some secondary roads as well. It does automatic lane changes or lane change on command, however you can set it both ways, which I prefer to use the blinker and tell it to change lanes. But the Rivian also has that now in the Gen 2. I have a Gen 1 which doesn't have that feature, so it's pretty comparable there. I did notice with Supercruise, get a little bit of ping-ponging here and there, which means, just going back and forth in the lane position kind of unnecessarily. Rivian, I have not noticed that so much with the Rivian, even in my Gen 1. I think it's pretty smooth, although, both I think are not completely reliable. Whereas like full self-driving, even hardware 3, you can put it on an easy highway road and you're going to be fine. It's going to keep the lane for you. It's going to take curves and all that. Really without a problem. The only thing I think hardware 3 really runs into on a highway is the lane changes. It does make some lane changes that are a little bit sketchy, maybe cutting people off and things like that. Hardware 4 can do that as well. I always keep mine on hurry mode, so it's a little bit aggressive on purpose, but I think it is a bit better when it comes to just general smoothness, feeling dependable, just kind of the whole overall comfort of the system and how intelligent that it feels, to give you the confidence that it's not going to have an issue. It can handle a situation. So I haven't seen Supercruise for example, if we're going by a truck, it doesn't seem to favor the opposite side to give it a little bit more room. I think I've heard that it does do that, but I haven't noticed that happening. Maybe these roads are just wide enough that it doesn't need to. Besides that, I'm actually surprised at how similar the Rivian system, especially on Gen 2, with automatic lane changes and all those kind of things, are to the Supercruise. Just given that GM is such a bigger company, they put so much more money into it with their Waymo division, and now they've kind of wrapped that into Supercruise. But they had, as far as the secondary roads too, I've tried it on a lot of secondary roads around Tucson and some of the areas. It worked on some for short times, and I found it would work for a couple of miles, and then it would tell you unmapped. So it's like some areas are mapped, some aren't, and it's on the highway. It's mostly mapped, other than like construction zones, which actually I think the mapping is more comprehensive than what Rivian does. But as far as secondary roads, I'm not sold yet that the Supercruise is any better than the Rivian system. It's a few extra roads, but I actually thought it would be more. Whereas, of course, full self-driving, you can take it any road. And it doesn't matter what kind of road it is. You can always take it, turn it on, and it will drive for you. So I think the FSD has a huge advantage there. It's a lot more reliable. Supercruise doesn't take any kind of turns, whereas Tesla, of course, will. And it's kind of amazing how much further ahead Tesla is from every other automaker. I'd like to try out Ford's Blue Cruise, I've heard, which is similar to this, and see how that compares to the Supercruise. Maybe I'll get an F-150 Lightning next time, and we can do that. But so far it's definitely nice for highway driving. Makes things a lot smoother, and it makes a long road trip. We're doing 4.5 hours from Tucson to Las Cruces, New Mexico, so it makes that kind of a trip, or any kind of long commute, really much more relaxing and enjoyable, less stressful, and just feel a lot less fatigued when you get there, because the car is doing 80% of the work for you. So definitely a big benefit. I would absolutely get this if I had a GM vehicle or wanted a GM vehicle. It would be a must-have. One thing I will say is that I have the Comma AI on the Rivian now. With the Comma AI, it's actually better than the Gen 2 ADAS system that Rivian offers, and I think quite a bit better than Supercruise. For just overall comfort, I think is better. It's a little bit, I haven't noticed the ping-ponging with the Comma AI. I've used it in 3 vehicles now, and I never really had that issue. And it just seems a lot more intuitive. It's able to go through construction zones. It's able to, doesn't turn off during pre-mapped, unmapped areas. If if you run into an anomaly in the mapping system, like it does with Supercruise or with Rivian system. So, that's quite an advantage there for me. Also, Comma AI works on any road. It doesn't really matter whether it's a highway or a secondary road or even a residential street. It doesn't need lane lines. It really is quite a bit more intelligent feeling than anything that Supercruise or GM is doing with Supercruise or with the Rivian system. I think the full self-driving is still ahead there. So in my ranking, I'd go full self-driving, Comma AI, then Supercruise and Rivian are pretty much right there, neck and neck. I think Supercruise has a little bit of an advantage on the amount of mapping that they've done, which I know Rivian is going to be expanding later this year. And then Rivian, I think, actually has the advantage on smoothness. I have not. It seems pretty comfortable to me, even on the factory Rivian system. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. If any of you guys have used either one of these systems or all the systems, if anybody has any comparisons between them. Yeah, but overall, still pretty impressive. It's cool that we live in 2025 and have this kind of technology in so many vehicles. Everything from a $30,000 Chevy Equinox, I think, can get Supercruise or Chevy Blazer, all the way up to Rivians and Hummer EVs that are $100,000. But one thing I will mention before I end this video, the one thing I don't like about the Supercruise system is just a lack of information. So when you're driving, in a Rivian or a Tesla, you have a driver display that gives you all the vehicles around you. It kind of tells you what's going on. It tells you, like on a Tesla, it will tell you, this vehicle is, in your blind spot, or it'll turn red. It actually changes, color codes the vehicles, whether they're, potentially coming into your path, or if they're in your path, if it's a problem. And it just gives you a lot more. Oh, here you go. Supercruise disengaging, take control of the vehicle. No road information. So we're on I-10. Why is there no road information on I-10? This is a major interstate, and for no reason, now we have to take over and drive. So, yeah, not as reliable for sure. But I just like that Rivian and Tesla give you more information as far as the Supercruise goes, or as far as the driver system. What's going on around you, other vehicles. It's a lot more communicative with what it's doing, I think. The one thing that GM and the Hummer here has over the Rivian is that it does have adaptive lane keeping, and keeps you a little bit in the lines even without the Supercruise system on. So that works on any road, and you can turn on the adaptive cruise, which also Rivian has. But the Rivian right now doesn't have any kind of lane keeping on any road that's not pre-mapped or isn't ready for their Rivian driver autonomy system. So yeah, that's one of the main disadvantages, I'd say. I'm gonna put the phone down. We've got a cop coming here. But yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate you watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. We'll do some more Hummer EV videos here, and I hope you all have a good day. All right, take care.